Welcome to next lecture of compiler design, that is on lexical analysis. I am Dr. Parul Yadav, Assistant Professor at Department of Computer Science and Engineering in Institute of Engineering and Technology, Lucknow. In today's lecture, topics will be covered as follows. First is lexical analysis, that input buffer, then token specification and then token recognition. So, first is about the lexical analysis. In previous class we have already discussed about the language processing system, phases of compiler. We broadly discussed the input and output of every phase of the compiler and certain fundamentals related to it. Now, here we know that in the lexical analysis, input is the source program and output of lexical analysis is a stream of tokens. So, here we deal with the three terminologies. They are lexeme, pattern and token. Lexeme, we know this is meaningful sequence of characters, and this meaningful sequence of characters is obtained based on the pattern. Pattern is the rule that follows some pattern. For example, here the pattern for identifier is like letter followed by any combination of letter or digit, mean letter followed by 0 or more instances of letter or digit. Now, to the lexeme we can assign the token based on the pattern obtained, and format of token is, it is actually a pair, that is the token name and the attribute value. So, here we write the abstract symbol to represent the token, and this is an optional attribute value, and that entry will be done in the symbol table. So, this is summary of the previous class that we discussed. Now, we will go in detail how lexical analysis identifies or obtains the token. So, first we will see the placing of lexical analysis. So, input to lexical analysis is the source program, and lexical analyzer will produce the token, and that token will be input to the parser or the syntax analyzer, and output of syntax analyzer will be input to semantic analyzer. Now, here parser, after consuming this token, parser requests lexical analyzer to produce the next token using the command, that is get next token. So, this is actually the command or the function we can say, and using this command parser requests lexical analyzer to produce the next token. So, lexical analyzer, here we have the source program. Lexical analyzer continues to read, start to read the input string and finds the next lexeme, and then finds the token for that lexeme, and then that token is given to the parser. Then parser again consumes it and then again requests lexical analyzer to produce the next token. So, in that way lexical analyzer and parser work together. Now, here we have the symbol table, and the entries or the details that we get in the program, they are stored in the symbol table. So, they may be stored or they may be fetched. So, based on with respect to task of lexical analyzer, we can categorize tasks in two categories. First is main category and second is additional task. So, in main category, lexical analyzer read the input character of the source program, it group them into lexeme, and then it produce as output the sequence of token for sequence of tokens for each lexeme. So, lexical analyzer will read the source program, it will find the lexeme, and based on the pattern it will return the token to the syntax analyzer. So, this is a main task of lexical analyzer. Apart from that, it performs certain other tasks also. So, just like first is the skipping out comments and the white spaces. In the program we may have the comments like single line comment or multi line comment, it depends upon the programming language, the syntax for comment. So, program may have the comments. Now, lexical analyzer will read the comment, but it will not produce any token for it. Similarly, if there is multi-line comment, so it will find yes, this is a comment, but no token will be produced for the comment. Similarly, white spaces, in the program there can be white spaces like blank, single blank or multiple blank spaces may there, or tab may be there, or new line character may be there. So, the compiler will ignore the white spaces. No token will be produced for white spaces. It will read, but no token will be produced. Now, second is correlating error messages. Group them into correlating error messages. So, basically lexical analyzer keep tracks the line numbers, and based on those line numbers or based on new line characters, it can correlate error message with the line number, mean there is error in this particular line. So, it keeps track the new line characters. And next it make the copy of the source program with error messages inserted at the appropriate position. Sometimes a lexical analyzer may make the copy of the source program and error messages will be inserted at that particular position. And if we have the program that has macros, then macro expansion may also require to be done. So, it may be doing the task of macro pre-processing also. So, these are the tasks of lexical analyzer. Now, we will see lexical analysis versus parsing. So, here we separated lexical analysis phase and the syntax analysis phase, reason being to provide the simplicity to the design. Simplicity mean in lexical analysis we know it produce the tokens for the with respect to lexemes. Now, in program we may have lexemes, or we may have like white spaces and comment. So, lexical analyzer do not produce token for white spaces or comments. Similarly, so it simplifies our tasks, means some filtering work is done at lexical analysis phase only. Similarly, next is compiler efficiency is improved. How compiler efficiency is improved? Because in lexical analysis we use regular expression to describe the pattern. Here we use finite automata to recognize the patterns, and here we use context free grammar to define the grammar, and here we use push down automata to recognize the grammar. So, here this PDA is very powerful, more powerful than finite automata, and implementation cost of PDA is more. So, if we have simpler device to work with, meaning we can describe the patterns using finite automata. So, there is no need to do the same task using more powerful device that has more implementation cost. So, here if we are splitting the tasks, then compiler efficiency is also improved. Next is compiler portability is enhanced. So, here basically this deals with the user, mean here we will have the source program and user will be typing something. So, there will be some input program related or input related requirements, device related requirements. So, they will be restricted to lexical analysis phase only. So, this is the reason why we split it. Now, we will see one example of Fortran statement, and here we will try to see how the outputs or how the tokens will be produced. Now, suppose this is our input statement, E is equal to MC and square. Here we are trying to write a square. Now, we will try to find how many tokens are there and what are all tokens. So, we know that there are 5 classes of tokens like keyword, identifier, operator, punctuator symbol and constants. Constants further can be subdivided into number and literals. Now, see here, this is E and this is matching to pattern with respect to identifier. So, token we know it is a pair that contains the token name, and second is the attribute value. Attribute value mean entry to symbol table, index to entry in symbol table with respect to that particular lexeme. Now, here we have E, class to E is identifier and pointer to symbol table entry for E, means suppose we are creating a symbol table और जहाँ पर भी इसकी entry होगी that pointer will be written. Now, next is assignment. So, here it will return the token for assignment, and this entry is optional actually. So, here we have skipped. Next is M mean this is identifier and suppose entry for this is stored over here. So, it will return pointer to symbol table entry for M. Now, next is this one. So, this is multiplication operator. So, token corresponding multiplication operator will be produced. Similarly, we can produce other tokens, that is E, this is identifier, then is exponential operator, and this is the number, and this is the integer value 2. So, how many tokens are there? We can easily count. Tokens are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Total 7 tokens are there, and we can find what is the token class and what is the attribute value for this. Similarly, there is another example to count the tokens. So, here what are the tokens? So, here the main thing is printf is a token, score is a token, rest are the punctuator symbols, they are the token. But if we will look at this portion, just to my focus is on here. If we look at this portion, this whole is a single token. This is the literal. So, sometimes students may mistake in counting it as separate token. This whole is a single token, this is literal, and other tokens can be counted in that way. Like printf is one token, opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis, and then comma and semicolon, they are separate tokens, and literal this whole is single token. Now, next is input buffer. So, here we have the statement, suppose E is equal to MC square, and this statement is with respect to the source program, and source program actually lies in input buffer, and input buffer is divided into number of cells. They can be numbered using Roman letters like 1, 2, 3 and 4. It has its left end and then it grows like this, and here we have two pointers, lexeme beginning pointer and the forward pointer. So, this is the lexeme beginning pointer, and here suppose we have initially both the pointers will point to the same cell. So, lexeme beginning pointer points to the beginning of current lexeme. So, whose extent we are attempting to determine. So, here it will point to the beginning of next current lexeme, and forward pointer scans ahead until the pattern match is found. So, here initially lexeme beginning pointer and forward pointer will point to particular cell. Suppose this is beginning of next lexeme, so it is pointing over here. Now, forward pointer will advance one cell to right, and here again we are getting the star, and then it will advance one cell to right. So, here we are getting 2. After reaching at this particular cell, we will came to know that this is not the part of lexeme, we must be having lexeme up to this cell. Now, forward pointer will retract one cell to left, it will come again to this cell, forward pointer, and here lexeme pointer will remain, lexeme beginning pointer will remain to its previous cell. Now, we can find the lexeme based on the symbols that we have from lexeme beginning, or in between we have lexeme beginning pointer and forward pointer. So, here we will get the lexeme as double star. Now, why we are using the input buffering? Actually, this provides us a reading the source program in the speedy manner. We often look one or more character beyond the next lexeme before we can be sure that we have the right lexeme. As I told you that here we star and forward pointer will move here and then here. When we are reaching at 2, then only will come to know, yes, this is not a part of lexeme, and up to here that should be the lexeme. So, for identifying the lexeme, we always read one or more character beyond to it. Reasoning, suppose in programming language we have the operators like less than, equal or not equal, like this. So, suppose in input buffer we have this less than or equal. So, lexeme beginning pointer and forward pointer suppose at this cell, and at this cell suppose we are getting this, and this is also matching to particular category, that is less than operator. So, here we do not produce token for less than, rather we will go one cell beyond, and here we are getting equal. So, we know that this equal is part of this operator. So, how we came to know about it? After reading one symbol extra. Again we will move here, and here we will find some another symbol that is not related to that lexeme. Then we will retract to left position and will produce token for this. So, we read one or more symbols character extra. So, here we have two buffers that are alternatively loaded. So, these buffers are alternatively loaded. Once we are at end of this buffer, then parallelly first buffer will be loaded. Here we have divided the input buffer in two parts to speeding up our task. So, once we are end of this buffer, the second buffer will be loaded, and here the two buffers, they are each of size n, which is the disk block size, for example 4096 bytes. Using one system load command, we can read n characters into the buffer rather than using one system call per character. So, here we are not loaded character in character by character on one system call, rather we will load n characters into the first buffer, and once we are at end of the buffer, then we will load the content of the second buffer. So, this will speed up our task. Now, here we deal with the sentinels. Sentinels mean the any special symbol that is not the part of the file that can tell us this is the end of the file. So, if this is the end of the content, so if this is the end of the content, so here we can put one sentinel. Now, here we have to make two tests. What are the two tests over here? One is for the end of the buffer, want to know are we at end of the buffer, so that the second buffer can be loaded, or we do not go beyond the cell, and one is to determine what character is read. So, in this first scheme is where we perform two tests. One is to know what is the end of the buffer, and second is to know what is the correct when is the end of the buffer, and second is to know which character are we reading. This problem can be simplified by using this end of character symbol at the end of every buffer, right. So, if we are reading end of buffer symbol, then so we can know yes, this is the end of previous buffer, and we can load the another buffer. Now, if we are at here, then we can came to know yes, this is end of the buffer, and if we are reading EOF somewhere here and this is not end of the buffer or end of the file, so we can find here this is the end of the file. So, here we can put the sentinel at the end of each buffer, and we can do the task by using the simple test. And here this is a code or that is for loading the buffers. So, here this is a forward pointer, and if forward is at the end of first buffer, then we will reload the second buffer, and forward pointer will point to the beginning of the second buffer. Now, this if we are at end of this buffer, then this buffer will be loaded, first buffer will be loaded, and forward pointer will point to this particular cell at the beginning of the first buffer. Now, similarly, if forward pointer is end of the second buffer, we will reload the first buffer, and forward pointer will point the beginning of the first buffer, as I explained currently, and else the remaining cases can be written over here. So, this is about how we are loading and reloading the buffers. Now, next is token specification. Token specification can be done using the regular expressions. So, here we have the set of the regular definitions. So, regular definitions mean assigning variable to regular expressions, and further these variables can be used in the regular expressions. So, suppose initially we smallest symbol of the language is alphabet. Now, for each RI, alphabet will be RI will be defined on sigma union D1 D2 up to Di minus 1. So, assigning variable to some regular expression is suppose R1, assigning variable to some regular expression is called as regular definitions. Now, we will understand with one example. Suppose here we have letter mean regular expression like A capital A to capital Z, small a to small z and underscore, and to this whole we can assign a variable, that is suppose letter underscore. And next is suppose 0 to 9 and variable to it is digit, and here this is the definition for identifier, and how we are writing the regular definition for it or a regular expression for it. Here we are directly writing the variable name letter underscore. What is a letter underscore? This whole regular expression. Next is this one. Here we have letter underscore followed by letter underscore or digit, mean any combination from here or any combination from 0 to 9. So, similarly we can write the regular definition for number using the same construct. For example, digit means 0 to 9 like this. Digits mean digit followed by 0 or more instances of digit. Then optional fraction mean decimal followed by digit or null. Optional exponent mean in parenthesis we have exponential, then plus, minus or null followed by digit or null. Now, number can be defined from digit followed by optional fraction followed by optional exponent. It is quite possible if number is 125, then from here we may take null and here we may take null. So, any number can be defined from here. Now, next is the extensions to it. So, certain extensions are there. For example, one or more instance. For one or more instance, we can write, we use the positive closure. For example, regular expression, suppose like regular expression is R. So, R plus is equal to R star R, or we can write it R R star. So, it says one or more instances. Similarly, we may have the symbol for 0 or 1 instance. Suppose R is a regular expression. So, for 0 or 1 instance we use the question mark. So, this will be equal to 1 instance of R or 0 instance of R. Another is character classes. So, in character classes, suppose we have regular expression like A, B up to Z, right. So, in character classes it will be written in square bracket. If this is an ordered sequence, then here we can write A dash Z. Now, suppose we have a regular expression like A, B and C, some finite symbols are there or random symbols are there. So, it can be written in square bracket A, B, C without comma. So, this is the way how we write the character classes, and using the character classes we can rewrite the regular definitions. For example, here letter underscore can be written as, here we can write A to Z, then we can write for A to small a to Z and then underscore. Digit means 0 to 9. So, in square bracket we can write 0 dash 9. Similarly, for identifier there is no change in definition of identifier. Now, next is recognition of token. So, here we can write the grammar for statements. For example, this is if statement, and here we have if expression then statement, and if expression then statement else statement or null. Expression is term, relation operator term or term. Then term is like identifier or number. So, actually we will discuss it in context free grammar, but here we will see the we'll focus on the tokens over here. Now, how to will focusing on the recognition of token. So, here we can write the regular definition for every pattern like digit, digits, number, or if, then, else. If we have if, we can directly write regular expression as I and F. If we have then, we can write I, T, E, N. T, H, E, N. If we have relational operators, so it can be written as, or here we can write all the relational operators and we can assign it to some variable. Now, in lexical analyzer will produce token for all these, or there can be more categories, but it will create a token for every category. But see here, if we can write the pattern for, we can write the regular definition for white space also, White space can be blank, tab or new line, or here we have plus mean any instance, one or more instance of this. So, this will be considered at white space. So, lexical analyzer will find the white space, but it will not produce any token for it, but token will be produced for rest of the categories, rest of the acceptable categories other than comment. Now, in table we can make the entry like for white space no token will be produced, if then corresponding token will be produced. Similarly, if identifier is there, then we will write identifier, and here we will write pointer to table entry, and similarly all the operators and all other forms of lexeme can be placed in the token as and when required. Now, here we will see till now we have seen to define the regular expression. Now, next is a transition diagram. Now, here we have suppose relational operator. So, for relational operator we can draw the transition diagram. This is suppose a start state, operator is less than or equal, and if we are reaching at less than or equal, then this could be our final state, and here we can return the token. So, this at this state some function is taking place, some activity is taking place. So, this state is returning the token and its attribute. Similarly, if less than or equal not equal is there, so we will move to this state, token will be produced for not equal. There is other symbol, it means this is actually relational operator less than. Similarly, we can add here transition for all the operators. Next is the transition diagram for identifier. Suppose here we have letter followed by letter or digit. So, this is a definition for identifier, or in using that form we can produce the keyword also, it can recognize a keyword also. So, here we have the function, we are reaching at this state, suppose this is suppose A, B, C. So, if we are reaching at this state, then it will return this one. So, here we have two function, install ID and get token. Install ID is a function and it checks the symbol table. In symbol table it checks whether there is entry in symbol table for this particular lexeme or not. If it is there, then it will return a pointer to that particular entry. Suppose this is a keyword and this keyword is already there in the table, then it will return the pointer to that particular entry. If it is not in the symbol table, then it will create its entry and will return the pointer to that particular entry. And get token function based on the lexeme generates the token. Similarly, we can draw the transition diagram for numbers. For example, digit followed by digit, then dot, then digit, all digits, then exponent, then plus minus sign, then after that digit and all digit, and then other. And here from here also we can reach to final state. This can also be the final state, and this can also be the final state. And this is the transition diagram for white spaces, where delimiter is white space actually. So, we may have one or more white spaces. So, we will reach at this state, but no token will be produced over here. And for the constructs, we can implement it using any programming language. We have specific tools also, but can be done implemented using programming languages also, like C, C++, Java, any language can be taken. So, I will tell you the idea for implementation. Suppose we have this diagram. So, here we will write switch case. So, this is switch with respect to state, and here we will write case suppose for state 0. So, here we will write if the input character that we are getting is less than, then state should be updated and now state should be 1. So, and then similarly we will write the logic for every construct in case statement, and then we will break from here. Similarly, we will write case for state 2 and case for state 3 and all. So, here we will show that if this state and this particular transition, then where we are moving, and we will keep on this process, and once we find the lexeme and we are reaching at final state, then at that particular action will take place. So, this is all about the lexical analysis, that on request of syntax analyzer is producing the tokens, and based on the lexeme and patterns it is producing the tokens giving to the syntax analyzer. It is producing token for all 5 categories or 5 categories of tokens, and it will not produce token for white spaces and the comments. And then we saw the concept of input buffering, where we have input pointer and forward pointer that deals with the look ahead symbol, and we need to read one or more symbol to find the token. And then we discuss the tokenization. So, this is all for this lecture. Most of the content of this lecture are covered from Ahu Ilman book. Thank you so much.